So, but if you pull it off.
Because but you did have surgery.
No, I never had surgery. No, I decided not to. I went against.
Check one, check.
Joe, I've been looking forward to this conversation for a long time. You have designed a life that is giving to others, and you built a business along the way. So I'm really interested in not only the science and the art of your science, but also how you've designed your life. I think both are fascinating to me. But I would like to start with the science of it.
Yeah.
And you opened up your book, Supernatural, this idea that I need to share. I need to tell what I've been doing or what I've seen or what I've experienced, even at the risk of people thinking that I'm a wild one, dangerous, a quack, I'm on the fringe, and this likely is not going to be accepted. You didn't use any of those words,
Sure.
But that was the risk that you decided to take.
Thank you for the question. First of all, I never planned on doing any of this, to be really straight and really honest. I had my own personal injury. I got run over by a truck in a triathlon, broke 6 vertebrae in my spine. Typical surgery is Harrington rod surgery. I was young, I was in my 20s, I was athletic, I had a martial arts studio, I had a yoga studio, I was training for a lot of different races, and I went from 100 miles an hour to face down in trouble. And I couldn't imagine living my life on addictive medications with Harrington rods from the base of my neck to the base of my spine. It was a full, six compression fractures is a lot. So I had bone fragments on the cord, and I had the neural arch broken, so I was in a lot of trouble. So I figured I might as well see if my mind can influence my body.
This was at age 20-something.
24, yeah. And it worked. It really worked for me. And when you go through that kind of initiation, you can't go back to business as usual. And it was a dark night of the soul for me during that time because I couldn't get my mind to do what I wanted it to do. Because I think when you're faced with crisis like that, we always focus on what we don't want to have happen instead of what we do want to have happen. So turning that battleship around for me as a 24-year-old kid was an enormous effort because I couldn't keep my mind on the task. So when I finally was able to get back on my feet and return back to my life, I decided from that point that it would be good to study other people that may have had a spontaneous remission from disease were treating conventionally or unconventionally. They were staying the same and getting worse, and all of a sudden they were getting better. So I traveled around the world. I traveled to 17 different countries, interviewed a lot of people.
At age 28 now?
I was probably 20, let's see, I was probably 29. Yeah.
Okay, so 2 things. You said it worked.
Yeah.
So I do want to understand what worked and how it worked. So I know we'll unfold that as we go, but in a shorthand for the listener who's unfamiliar with this part of your journey.
Yeah, so I wanted to see if my mind could influence my body. And I decided 2 things. I thought, God, there's an innate intelligence within us that's giving us life. It's keeping our heart beating, digesting our food, all the way down to the cellular level, organizing trillions of functions in a cell every second, correcting for mutations in the DNA. So I had a respect for that innate intelligence. And I thought, well, it can heal to a certain point.
And it does.
And it does.
It is healing.
But
it's trying its very best.
Yeah, with 6 compression fractures, I thought, this has got to be next level now. This has got to be next level. This. So I had to weigh what I knew against what I didn't know. Well, and so for me, I thought, God, if I could make contact with this intelligence and give it a plan, give it a directive, give it some orders, give it a template, and if I could do it really well, once I've had that vision in my mind super clear, I know that I can't heal it. I'm going to surrender that vision to a greater mind and see if it could begin to work with me.
So you sound like a mystic. You sound like a spiritualist at this point, somebody who's a devotee to a religion that says, I'm going to turn over my injury to God. I'm going to turn over my life experiences to God.
Yeah, I think that's a simplistic version because what I wanted to do is I wanted to influence it and see if I could take it to the next level. Because I knew that, the compression fractures could heal, but I would lose bone height. I still have fragments on my cord. I had motor function problems. I had sensory function problems. I had an enormous amount of pain. So this was kind of next level for me. And I think anytime you go against convention, whether it's social convention, scientific convention, religious convention, anytime you go against the current belief systems, you're always considered foolhardy or insane, right? I mean, you're nuts. The 4 opinions I had from 4 surgeons, they all thought I hit my head. Like they were like, what are you thinking here?
Yeah.
So, but if you pull it off.
Because you did have surgery.
No, I never had surgery. I decided not to. I went against.
That's where the medical institution would say, what are you doing?
Yeah, they were very upset with me. In 1986, you didn't do that. Like I was living in San Diego, you just didn't do that. And I just figured, God, if I have the Harrington rod surgery, I'm not going to be the same guy. I won't be able to do. I won't be able to do anything like I was doing. And so I was willing to trust in that process. I figured if it didn't work, I'm going to wind up with surgery anyway, so I might as well roll the dice. And so number 1 was make contact with that intelligence. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything. I'm laying face down. And the second thing was I'm not going to let any thought slip by my awareness unnoticed by me. So mystical means unknown. That's what the word means. So I was willing to trust if this could work. Now, a little background. I had studied hypnosis a lot. I saw the power of the subconscious mind. I saw, amazing things. And then I did have this kind of crazy moment where I was leaving for graduate school and my best friend's father gave me a book, Autobiography of a Yogi, and I was reading this book and I was like, God, if that is actually the truth, then I'm unaware of a lot.
Yeah.
And I read that book and scrutinized it and threw it across the room and wrestled with it. But I had this kind of idea that I was willing to take that risk because I had the time. I went from 100 miles an hour in my life to laying face down. So I knew enough about the spine, I knew enough about the body, and the first 6.5 weeks was misery. It was really, really a dark night of the soul because I could not. I was wrestling with my own belief, and my own self-doubt, and my inability to be able to control my mind when you're out of balance. So the first 6.5 weeks, it took me 3 hours to go through that inward process, and then when I was done, I wasn't satisfied. But after that 6.5 weeks, what took me 3 hours, 3.5, sometimes 4 hours to do, because it's the moment I started thinking, should I sell my practice? Should I sell my home? I'm going to be living in a wheelchair. It was the moment I was, my mind left the present moment, and I went off that. I start all over again. I'd start over, so it was a very, very deliberate but very, very difficult process, because if you get frustrated, it's going to get worse. So I had to move through all this muck, and 6.5 weeks, all of a sudden something clicked. It was like I hit a golf ball right in the sweet spot. I hit a tennis ball just right. Something clicked for me, and then all of a sudden from that point forward, it got easier. And what took me 3.5 hours, 3 hours to do, I was doing in much less time. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was really mastering the ability to pay attention and to be present. Because every time you catch yourself defaulting and you're going unconscious, the only way you become conscious is you catch yourself going unconscious and you become conscious again. And
That's the moment to celebrate.
Right. And most people say, well, I can't do it. And I was doing that, but really that's a victory.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's the only way
Yes.
that you're actually going to stop yourself from going unconscious. So I was pruning connections and I was rewiring new connections, and I started developing kind of a new mind. And at that moment, Michael, I noticed like the dramatic reduction in my pain. And I was getting sensory feeling back and motor, and then my toes, and I was just like, okay, whatever you're doing is working, so keep doing it. And your belief at that point goes from here to here. Right? It just catapults because you're seeing the effect of you it cause, right?